Before we get into today's show, we have a word from one of our sponsors that I'm really excited about. I love the saying, necessity is the mother of invention. And let me tell you, most assigning platforms out there for officials are brutal. Well, two young men recently out of college decided there had to be a better way to manage officials and get assigned. And they founded a company called Refer Sports. It simply makes referee management and assigning easy. It's native on a mobile app, so you can manage your games whether you're in the office on a desktop or on the go. It is now the world's fastest growing assigning solution, and it's 100% free for assigners. It's a no-brainer to make the switch. It makes assigners easier to work with. I've got a few assigners in my world that are brutal just because their systems are so bad and antiquated. It provides a dedicated integration specialist, so when you make a switch over to Refer, it ensures a seamless transition for you and the organization and the officials that you work with. And they support over 25 sports. So if you're assigning for soccer, you're assigning for softball, you're assigning for lacrosse, you can use one platform for everything. Simply put, man, if you want to level up your assigning game and be an easier assigner to work with for the referees and officials that are in your universe, use a tool that makes everyone's life better. Refer Sports. It's spelled R-E-F-R Sports. Check it out online or in the App Store. Hello and welcome to the Refs Need Love To podcast, a show that gives you a real, raw, and behind-the-scenes view of one of the hardest jobs on the pitch, the referee. I'm your host, David Gerson, a grassroots referee and now certified mentor with over 10 years of experience on the pitch and over 1,200 matches under my belt. You can find me at refsneedlove2.com, on Instagram, on TikTok, and now even on YouTube. And this week, people, we have got a long-time collaborator of Refs Need Love To, Paul Risdall. He's been like a silent partner. He's there, but you might not know he's been there. Paul has been a referee for 7 years in soccer, basketball, and lacrosse, and referees at the collegiate level in all three sports up to Division I and semi-pro in soccer, and is a USF certified referee mentor in soccer as well. He is also the lead pastor at West Point Church in the Twin Cities area of Minnesota. And he and his wife, Laura, have 3 girls aged 14, 10, and 6 that all play soccer. For fun, he enjoys watching his kids play soccer, running marathons. That's for fun, running marathons, and cooking for family and friends. I should note, he is a Liverpool supporter, but we love him anyway. Paul, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to do this.
This has been something you and I have been talking about doing for a long time, but you, man, are a busy guy. You are indeed.
I like to stay busy, that's for sure.
That is for sure. Whether it's with family or reffing, you're all over the place. So let's start at the beginning. So you said 7 years as a ref. So where did your referee journey begin?
Yeah, technically, I actually did ref a little bit when I think I was 15 or 16 years old back in high school, and started reffing some youth soccer back then, and did that for a couple of summers. Didn't really even know what was going on half the time. I'm not.
Wait. Do any of us know what's going on? I'm not sure.
It was crazy that the fact that I was in charge of these games, and so I had stopped doing that. And probably, let's see, it would have been 2016. My wife and I were talking, and we were just about a way to earn a little bit of extra cash was really the place that it got started. And I said, well, I used to do this in high school. I think that'd be fun. I could try doing that again. And so I actually signed up to referee high school soccer before doing any USSF stuff at all. And so
That's
I
interesting.
did get certified through USSF, but the first game that I reffed was a high school game.
Wow. It's funny you say that. I've heard a few people say that, and I'm like, wow. That is a really interesting level of soccer with a lot of different dynamics going on to jump in for the first time. How was that for you?
I was supposed to start out with a JV game. And so I ended up getting assigned a JV game, and the ref assigner called me the day of my first game and said, hey, one of the officials on the varsity game broke their ankle. Can I put you on the varsity game tonight? And I said yes. And at that point, I had no idea what I was getting into. I looked up online who the two teams were, and it was a rematch of the state championship game from the previous year.
Oh my gosh.
And so here I am as an assistant referee, my very first day of reffing ever. I had just done the JV game. That was the length of my experience. And now I'm reffing a rematch of the state championship game from the previous year that night. And it went okay. I'm sure I probably made some mistakes, but it wasn't a disaster. And we got off the field, and it was a crazy adrenaline rush, and I was hooked from that moment on.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So you don't just do soccer. So normally when we have referees on the podcast, they're usually soccer referees, but you don't just do soccer. You do a few other sports as well.
I decided that same year to pick up basketball. Basketball was a sport that I grew up playing, so it's probably even a sport I'm more familiar with as far as the actual playing of the game and the movement and all of that. So that was a pretty natural transition for me. And my second year of doing basketball, a referee friend said, "Hey, you should come do girls lacrosse." And I said, "I've never seen a girls lacrosse game before. But sure, why not? I need a sport in the spring." And so I thought I'd give it a try. And so I recorded a bunch of college lacrosse, women's lacrosse games on the Big Ten Network and started watching them, only to find out at the time especially that the college game and the high school game are totally different. And so I learned on the job for that one as well. My first game again got called up to a varsity game and ended up being a 1-goal game for my very first game. So that's a trend.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy. So out of the lacrosse, okay, so let's choose a level. We're going to go high school. So I'm going to level set on a level here. We're going to go high school soccer, high school lacrosse, high school basketball. What is the most challenging to ref and why?
They all have their unique challenges. I think that the thing about soccer that is specifically unique is when you are in the center, when you are the referee, you are the referee. Where all of the other sports, it's shared responsibility. It's more of a partnership. There's not one referee they have the final decision. Mm-hmm. So I feel like there's a little bit more pressure and in that sense. And in addition to that, one call in a soccer game can completely transform the game. It can result in a penalty kick, which is a goal, and goals are rare. That can change the course of the entire game, where a call is maybe not as significant in basketball, but I would say that basketball is significantly more challenging in the fact that you have so much more to watch for, and you are involved so much more than you would be in a soccer game. There are just so many things that are technically fouls that you blow your whistle a lot more. And probably the biggest difference is you are right next to everybody. You're right next to the coaches. You're right next to the benches. You're right next to the fans. You can hear everything that's said in that gym, especially if it's a quiet night. And a lot of times there's not hundreds of fans there. And you can hear every single word in that gymnasium. And so there's that kind of added pressure of being right in the middle of everything. So if I had to say which one was the hardest, I'd probably say basketball.
Yeah, I have to tell you, so I was the coach of my kids' basketball teams. I was coach all the soccer and basketball up till about 10 and 12 years old for soccer, but 10 years old basketball, I felt was one of the most intense experiences of my life. The gym gets so loud, as you say, that every sound is amplified. And I was never a referee for basketball, but I've been to basketball matches, and I really sit there and sympathize and empathize for those referees, because exactly what you're saying, their coaches are right, literally on the court. You've got lots of players sitting there, and then the parents could potentially be within 3 or 4 feet of the court, and it's all around, right? It surrounds you. Whereas in soccer, you got parents on one side, spectators on one side, coaches on the other. Even when you make a call, there's still going to be a lot of distance between you and an adult who might be agitated. Whereas in basketball, they're right upon you, and you're right, you hear everything. It seems like a much more intense environment, or has the capability or the capacity to be much more intense.
Yeah, definitely. And the culture around the game is a little bit different too. I think soccer generally, the demonstrative arguing with the referee is just not even just at the international level, but even at the lower levels, there's a lot more that we permit in soccer, unfortunately, than we probably would in basketball. And I think there are some more tools that kind of help shape that. There is both sides of that, but yes, it's definitely a very close quarters environment. And in fact, a lot of the crazy videos that you see of coaches losing their mind or parents running out of the court and attacking referees, a lot of them are basketball clips.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say that. So it's so interesting. I do want to ask you a question, though, about that. Sorry to belabor this point on basketball, but I'm really curious now. Do you feel that you are more likely to throw a technical foul, like tee someone up in basketball, before you are going to card a coach in soccer?
No, I would say in my 10 years of reffing basketball, I've probably given 20 technical fouls, and I've probably given 500 yellow cards.
Wow.
And I think I've only teed up a coach maybe twice. So it doesn't happen that often. I feel like there's a little bit more decorum. And we also have something in high school basketball called a bench warning. So that's maybe the equivalent. And you give an official warning and it's recorded in the book. There's no there's no free throws penalty or anything like that at that point. So technical foul is the next level. And I've given a fair share of bench warnings, far more yellow cards than technical fouls.
How about that? And so this year you actually really started moving up, if I'm not mistaken. I think was this the first year that you started refereeing in Division I for NCAA basketball?
Not for basketball, for soccer.
Oh, for soccer. So you went to D1 for soccer this year. Cool. And so how does that change when you go from doing like high school or D3 matches? When you start moving to D1 soccer, how does your world change as you move to that level?
It's hard to say. In Minnesota, we don't have necessarily the best level of soccer and the top Division I schools. The one exception would be the University of Minnesota women's team. We don't have a men's team. So they're obviously Big Ten and a major conference, and those are top games. But then most of the D1 soccer that we have is the lower Division I because it's not as popular. There aren't as many D1 schools around here. Honestly, the Division III soccer, though, in our area there's some really excellent soccer. St. Olaf just won the Division III NCAA championship this year. And
cool.
They're one of the Twin Cities schools, and we have some really great, and they weren't even necessarily always the best team in the state this year. There are some really good Division III programs, and I think it just really depends on the school. I don't know that there's that dramatic shift from Division III to Division II to Division I. I'm sure there is at the top schools, your North Carolina, Wake Forest, some of those elite soccer schools. I'm sure that's a whole different level. But in my area, Division III can be pretty good, and Division I isn't necessarily this massive leap.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I've done a few college matches here in Georgia. And quite honestly, your highest level U18, U19, ECNL, or MLS Next Team will kick the living crap out of 3 and lower level D1 colleges. It seems to be a real big disparity in quality throughout college soccer. And it's interesting. And it's going to be interesting in the next couple of years as the rosters changes. I think they've shrank a number of rosters recently. And so it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. But I'm curious, Paul, if you wouldn't mind sharing, can you tell our listeners, because I do openly talk about this on the podcast, about pay. How does pay change when you go from a high school in Minnesota to D3 to D1? Let's just say for the center referee. How does that change for people? We're going to take a quick break for words from our sponsor. It's better than an in-game water break.
Are you eager to take your brand or business to the next level, but just need that extra push? I'm Brennan C. Adams, host of the Brennan C. Adams Audio Experience. As an investor, author, speaker, advisor, and two-time Emmy Award-winning producer, I created this podcast to provide a behind-the-scenes look into the life of a successful entrepreneur while sharing the steps it took to get there. Let me provide you with the energy to take massive action and shift your mindset so you can start achieving your goals effectively. If you're ready to take action today, subscribe to the Brennan C. Adams Audio Experience. Go out there, create something great, and become unforgettable, because life is too short not to. I'm Brennan C. Adams. Here's to your success.
Yeah, so in high school in Minnesota, center referee and the assistants get paid the same. And we actually just got a new contract, and it increased significantly, which was huge blessing. But so now it's $84 per game, and most of our games are varsity doubleheaders.
Yep.
So we actually do boys, girls stacked, and you walk away with $107 for a night's work, and that's very reasonable. Division III for the center referee, I think I'm trying to remember what the going rate is. I think it's $195 for center, and then Division II is $215, I want to say.
Yeah.
And then Division I just depends on the conference. So The Big Ten conference pays significantly more than the others. The other one in our area is the Summit League, but I think it's anywhere from $300 to $500 in that range.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I appreciate you being candid about that. That's fantastic. I do have some questions for you, Paul. So one thing you and I have talked about in the past, and Paul, I got to tell you, I didn't know you were a mentor. I didn't know you were a certified mentor. I didn't know you got your certification. That's cool. But we've talked about reffing in Minnesota, and specifically the state ref association for soccer, at least in Minnesota, that you've had a lot of positive things to say about it. Can you talk a little bit about why you like your local, as your state referee association? What is it they do that makes them a source for positivity and leadership for referees in Minnesota?
Yeah, I think it really starts with the leadership. And so our SRA actually just retired, Paula Hildman. She did a phenomenal job for many years. I heard her say something that I've never heard any other ref coach or ref official say. I don't care that much about the game of soccer. In fact, I could care less about the game of soccer. I care about referees. And that seems weird and backwards, because we are all so passionate about this game too, and we love this game, and most referees love the game. But when you care about the referees more than just the game itself, and you see them as people, that makes a big difference. And so I thought she did a really great job of kind of setting that culture that we're going to treat our referees with respect, and we're going to set them up for success. And I think that even as she's retired and we have a new SRA, that culture has continued. And I think they've done a really good job of investing in training and developing referees and working towards those goals so that we can reach the next tier and be better referees. And I think it's an impossible task across the board, but I really appreciated the work that they've done to help us improve and to support us and hopefully retain some of these new referees as well.
And do you see that message that was coming from Paula, and now whoever her successor is, do you see the clubs also trying to carry that mantle? Do you see some support from them as well?
I think it depends. There's still the business of soccer. And I think ultimately money controls most of what happens at the clubs. And that's why I think it's so important to have a really strong SRA, a referee committee that'll back the referees and that'll stand with them, because ultimately, if the clubs are interested in the clubs, and the organizations and the leagues that they're a part of are interested in their own benefit. And so somebody's got to look out for the referees.
It's a tough one. I think in my world in Georgia, there are some clubs who get it and understand the culture has to be healthy for everyone for them to be successful. And there are some that just don't get it. Sure. It's all about winning. It's all about getting bigger. It's all like the acronym game. There's literally an acronym for everyone at every single level, and there's pre this and pre that and this, whatever. It's just all seems to be a money grab. Some people are doing it right, and it's a shame not everyone gets it, but that's awesome. So I do have another question, just this whole section about reffing. So, Paul, what is it that you love about being a referee?
Like I said, it started out as just a side hustle to make some extra money, and that has completely changed for me. I don't do it for the paycheck. It's nice to get paid a little bit more, and I appreciate the extra money, but I love being out on the field. I loved playing sports in high school, and when that time came to an end, I mourned that. That was a really hard thing to transition out of that and to not have that excitement of being out on the field. And I've helped coach before a little bit with my kids, and that's been great, and I've enjoyed that too. There's something about being out on the field and being a part of the game. And it's just one of the most exciting things. And if you can give back to the game and to the kids, and you can make the experience better for everyone and get to participate athletically as well as engage in the game itself, I think it's just the best thing in the world.
I know it. I agree. All right. Now, you've got a 14-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 6-year-old. Do you think any of those kids, no pressure, would possibly become a referee?
My oldest gave it a shot. She did 3 games and then decided that wasn't enough for her.
Yeah.
And maybe someday she'll decide to pick it up again, and I think she would do very well. But I don't think she necessarily loved the pressure of that. One of her first games, the third game, the last game that she did, there was a critical offside decision, and it was right at the end of the game, and she put the flag up just barely inside the halfway line. And I think she put it up correctly, but the referee didn't see it. I was the AR on the other side. So the referee didn't see the flag. Player went down and scored a goal, and the referee came back and asked her about it. Obviously, we're pulling the ball out of the net, no goal, offside, and it was the game deciding goal. So that was a little intense for her first experience, and so maybe someday she'll pick it up again. My youngest, I could definitely see.
Even at 6 years old, you could see it. She's got the power.
She just has a kind of a fiery personality, and I think she would do very well if she would want to pursue that. But there's no pressure for me.
So I'm reffing with my son again this weekend. So he gave it up his senior year of high school. And then when he came back from college, poor college kid, I need to make money. I was like, well, you could be a referee. He had 2 jobs. Mm-hmm. But I was like, during the days, he could ref. And so I got him back into it. And so we're reffing again this weekend. And then he goes back to school the following weekend, goes to Clemson. And he was like lamenting the fact, I need money. I was like, you can referee again. And so he's like, all right. So I've reached out to the SRAs in South Carolina. So he's going to pick it up again. But it's like comes and goes. It comes and goes. It's a good source of income. So I think it's always going to be something that will be in the periphery of his life. But it's a hard job. I understand.
It is.
I understand. Yep. I do want to ask you, Paul. So those who are listening, I describe Paul as like a silent partner. So Paul was one of the OG original supporters of my channel when I started on TikTok, and we'd engage. And then one day he reaches out to me and he's like, hey man, I make my own referee cards. I'd love to send you some. And I'm like, just as like a gift because he's a nice dude. And I was like, okay, that's awesome. And so he sent it to me and I received it. And I'm actually showing to the camera. I'll put it like on the video here, but this is like an early, like this white scorecard. I don't know if this was the original. I was looking around to try and find it, but I was like, oh my gosh, man, like you need to sell. These are really good. They're rewritable cards and they've got all the information you would want on them, whatnot. And Paul wound up by hand printing these things, laminating these things. He still does, hand punching them out in the corners and the rounded corners. And if you've ever bought the referee scorecards from the Refs Need Love to Score, they are actually made by Paul. And so, Paul, I want to like just peel this back for a second. Why did you even start making your own cards? Like, what possessed you to be like, all right, I got to start making my own?
Yeah, it just started by basically being frustrated with the options that I currently had. So, like, I got the starter kit, referee kit with the terrible booklet that has no room to write on and plastic on either side of the paper. And that wasn't working. And I was like, okay, let's try these write-on cards. I had seen some of my friends using them. And so I ordered some and tried them out and thought, man, this is maddening the way that they're laid out. And there's no space to write for the goals. And you can only write 5 yellow cards on this one. What if you have a game where you have more than that? And there's nothing on the back. And I just did not like the way that they were designed. And I'm like, I can do better than this. So I just got on my computer and started messing around. And after I tried several different iterations of them and landed on what I eventually sent you, and I made probably 20 of them, and I just made them for myself. And I'd given a few out to friends in the past. I saw that you were looking for an option, and I have the best referee cards. I'll send you some of mine, and that's how it all started.
Yeah, man. I was using a rewritable card with a pencil, and I was getting really frustrated because I couldn't read it. If it was nighttime or something like that, like the pencil wasn't very like clear, and it wasn't a lot of contrast, and the pencil would wear down, the card would wear down over time, and that was frustrating me. The paper, I threw that away like 8 years ago, because all you need is one rainy night, whatnot, to be like, this sucks. And then it's all wet and looks like crap and stuff of nature. But there's a lot of stuff over time. We've worked our way into kind of the third generation of cards. We started with a yellow card, and then someone was like, hey, do you have a red version? So you could have a yellow card and a red scorecard. So that was a big thing for a while, so that that's all you needed. You didn't need separate yellow and red cards. You had your own yellow scorecard and a red scorecard. It's like, done. Awesome. And then this last one, though, is really fascinating. So you developed, we call this the Pro Ref scorecard, which is in the store. But there's things on here, man, that I kid you not. I know everyone listening to this thinks I'm joking, but I actually had to call Paul and say, hey, man, what does MO stand for on the back of the card? I don't know. I kid you. If you haven't seen the scorecard, and I'll show it up here to the camera, and I'll put it on the actual, like the video when we do this. But on the front of the card, it's phenomenal. He's got the home, away, the kickoff, color, captain. But I'm going to jump to the back of the card. And the back, he's got this notes section up top, because there's like a violent conduct or dogs when you need to write some notes down, or a coach is dismissed. He's got that. But underneath, he's got sub H, subs for home, sub A, subs for away. And then underneath that, he's got a number of lines here for, I think, 8 subs. And the first column is MO. And I was like, what is MO? So, Paul, what does MO stand for?
Yes, MO is moment. And so if there's only a few instances where you use something like that, but if you do MLS Next, for example, and any of these, if you're using the substitutions on the back of this card, this is a higher level game where it's not unlimited substitutions, where you need to record subs. Your semi-pro games, your MLS Next, wherever it is that they have limited substitutions. In MLS Next, you only have 3 moments and halftime to make subs. If you have 2 subs in 1 moment, that counts as 2 substitutions, but it only counts as 1 moment. So you have to be able to record both. So I thought, why not put a blank there for that as well?
Oh, no, it's huge. Yeah. So when you get, for those listening to this, when you get a U15 and above for MLS Next, you have to record every substitution. So you have to record the moment, the minute, who's coming in and who's coming out. And so the cards actually have spaces for that for both home and for away for all 8 subs that are available. So it's huge. And then at the bottom, and this is another one of these things that a lot of cards don't have, is you actually have all of the codes for all of the infractions. So like the yellow card, it's got UB for unsporting behavior, DT for dissent. Because when you're doing a semi-pro match, and these things come up, you have to record every single card. Like for most youth games, you give a yellow card, okay, it's done. You just walk off the field. You've given a yellow card, nothing. But when you do MLS Next, or you do these semi-pro, like you've got to write down that I've had a yellow card for FRD, which is failure to respect the distance. So a lot of people have no clue what those codes are. And so you add them on this code. I got to tell you, I don't know the codes. I've been doing this for almost 11 years now, and I'm sitting here looking at your card. All right, I'm gonna give you a quiz. I'm gonna quiz you. Ready, Paul? Okay.
I'm ready.
All right, ready? Okay, so this is a red card, and it's a DGF.
That's a dog so foul.
There you go, baby. As opposed to a DGH.
Dog so handling.
There you go, man. And how about a 2CT?
Second caution.
There you go. I tell you, seriously, we could be doing a quiz show right now, and I bet there's a lot of people who would not be able to get these codes here. And these two, honestly, I don't know if I've even looked at them because I don't think I've ever given a card for this. But what is a yellow card E?
Yellow card E.
Ooh, this is a good one. It's a good one.
Is that entering the field without permission?
Correct. Oh my gosh. As opposed to the L, which is the leaving the field without permission. Oh my gosh. Paul, seriously, how would you know this if it wasn't on the card? I think the UPSL sheets might have these things here, but persistent offenses, PO. There are all sorts of things on here that are really good. But yeah, I think it was so much fun. This card was so unique. When I saw it the first time, I literally freaked out because it was like bright colors and high contrast. And it had like everything you could possibly want on here to have a card for the discipline, the number. Was it a yellow card? Was it a red card? The time, the reason, all of those things. 10 spaces for 10 goals. A lot of scoring there. Spaces for, let's see, how many cards? 6, 7, a lot of cards. You could have a lot of cards in a match there. And then you got the notes on the back as well. So you could do all sorts of stuff. But I have to tell you, I just think it's so interesting.
That I love about the scoring section on those cards is it's numbered 1 through 10. So you don't even have to like score, like it automatically tracks it. So as if you're doing a high school game and all you need to know is you don't have to record the number of the goal scorer or anything like that. Right. You can just put a check mark next to or circle the number or whatever it might be. And then you just have a running tally. You don't even have to write anything. Mm-hmm. And it just makes it so much easier. The thing that drove me crazy about all of the different options that are out there is they were clearly designed by somebody who's never refereed a soccer match before. In fact, even some of the cards that I looked at online, one of them on Amazon, it's a referee wearing a striped like NFL-style shirt and holding up a yellow card right in front of his face. No soccer referee would ever do that. And it's like, why would I want a card that's designed by people who think this is what we do? Yeah. Rather than somebody who actually knows how the game works. And even just like stupid things like how big the logo is and where it's located so that it takes up real estate when you need every square inch on that thing to track the information from the match.
I just think it's so interesting. There's probably throughout human history that the mother of all invention is like frustration. It sucks. Yep. There's got to be a better way. And then you search for it and you're like, why is there nothing better? But you're one of the rare people who is like, no, I can do this. I can figure it out and I can make something better. And so we've now sold probably 1,000 plus cards out there, at least. I know we've done like 40 orders just this week, so it's 80 cards. But yeah, no, definitely, it's got to be. We have to add it up.
I'm just waiting to watch an MLS game and then have somebody just pull out one of the refs need love 2 cards.
I'm telling you, man, it's coming. It is definitely coming. I know that definitely some pro refs use my coins. I know the coins have been like a big thing. The card would be awesome. Yeah, it's very interesting. I think obviously for the MLS refs, they're given everything. I'm sure they get given a very specific thing. They all have to use the same. But yeah, that would be so cool if we wind up seeing it on TV. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. Mike Dean is always using his junky yellow card that he has a piece of paper taped to the back of to record his cautions. So
there are a lot of people. I see a lot of refs who do the tape on the back of the card. And the only theory that I have on that is they have not seen your cards yet, Paul. That's it.
Right.
Yeah. And that's just the way they came up. They put big masking tape on the back of their red card, their yellow card, and that's how they record stuff and just do it like that. They haven't seen the light yet, man. They haven't seen the pro ref card. It's so fun. It's great. Anyway, one more question, and this just popped in my head. I feel like I didn't ask. So your daughters, are they playing sports too?
All 3 of them play soccer. My 6-year-old is just the wreck.
Yeah.
Kids run around in circles and kick each other in the shins.
I love it.
And a soccer. But the older 2 are in traveling soccer, and they both just finished their tryouts and got assigned to the top teams for their age group at their club. So we're excited about that. It's going to be fun next year and lots of games and travel and probably less reffing next summer than ever before, but looking forward to it.
Yeah, I will tell you, for anyone out there who does have kids who start playing at these higher levels with travel, you can ref at those tournaments too and at those games. And I've done it numerous times where my son has a 2:00 game and we're staying overnight, and I'll ref the 4:00 game, or I'll ref the 6:00 game too, or something like that. Or they're at the hotel early in the morning and I'll go ref a game at 8 a.m. or 10 a.m. and then come back and pick them up at noon, eat lunch, and we go to the field and they're playing at 2 or 3. So I think that's one thing that's nice in the United States or for USSF is we are U.S. soccer certified referees, and we can go ref anywhere in the United States. I know there are some places now that require extra background checks. Florida in particular, you have to have a fingerprints, and there's like a whole thing that you have to go through and a criminal background check there. But most states, you can go ref there if you're able to, if you have the time. So yeah, I just want to encourage those refs out there. Don't give it up. Don't give it up just because your kids are starting to travel. It might mean you have to reduce a level, but it doesn't mean you have to stop at all. Paul, I got to tell you, man, I'm so glad that, through this channel, you came into my life. We still have not even met. So Paul and I live on about probably 1,500 miles apart. I'm in Georgia. He's in Minnesota, but I definitely consider you a good, cherished friend and partner in this crazy endeavor that we have going on. And I really just want to say thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today and sharing your story.
Yeah, absolutely. Loved it. And I want to say this too. First of all, I've been listening to the podcast since the first episode, and I really enjoy listening to it. And I just think it's been really fun to watch you grow as a host too, and just become really comfortable in this role. I think it's a great podcast, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
That's awesome, man. I'm excited to see where it goes too, because I have no clue, honestly, no clue. But hey, so Paul, thank you so much. So for everyone out there, I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. I really do think it is so great listening and learning from refs all across the country and in different sports too. I know I've had people come to say, hey, why don't you get some pro refs on the podcast? I was like, I can do that, and I have done that. But their world is so different from the grassroots ref who's trying to balance life and family and all these different things that we're going out and doing. I think it's cool. And then also to hear refs who do other sports and what's unique and different about those other sports, I think is really interesting. It's that they are our brothers and sisters out there in football and basketball and lacrosse as well. And so I think it's so cool. I also think, and I hope you appreciate that, getting to hear from Paul, who's an entrepreneur who created something cool for you, our fellow referees, and in my opinion, created by far the best referee scorecard on the market. If you like today's pod, please check out my social media channels at Instagram, TikTok, website, and definitely the merch at refsneedlove2.com. If you use code REFLOVE24, you get 10% off through the rest of the year. So REFLOVE24. If you like the podcast, please share it with everyone. I appreciate your support. And as always, I hope your next game is red card free.